Axolotls are really popular these days because they're so cute and they have an adorable little smile. But these creatures are steeped in ancient Aztec mythology and lore. They're pretty much everywhere. They're at Build-A-Bear, they're squashmallows. I found some axolotl stickers in a gumball machine at a taqueria the other day. There's a Pokemon based off one. They're even on the Mexican peso. They also make great pets. I've had one for about 10 years. His name is Alan, and he's a tough little bastard. And he's had both his front legs, all his gills, and a giant section of his tail eaten off. And they all grew back.
Here's Alan's baby picture. That's Chris, the other axolotl, the smaller one. That was the assailant. That's who attacked Alan and ate his arms off. I eventually had to separate them, and they lived separate lives after that. Chris didn't live as long. Maybe he died from the guilt. Here's another picture of them. Chris is the smaller one. You can see it in his eyes that he's up to something.
That leads me to one of the cool science facts about the axolotl. They can regenerate their appendages. Obviously, that has some pretty cool scientific implications, and so scientists are studying them for that. What axolotls are is a certain kind of salamander that never grows out of its larval state. Your normal metamorphosis goes eggs to larva to whatever and then adult. These guys stay in their larval stage. Not only are they the only animal we know of that can reproduce in the larval state, but they never finish their metamorphosis. Typically what would happen to, like, say a tadpole is they would grow legs, lose their tail, their gills would turn into lungs, and then they would come out of the water. These guys don't do that. Those furry things you see on their head, those are their gills, and they keep those for their entire life. You can introduce things into the environment to complete their metamorphosis, and they just turn into a regular salamander, but then they don't live as long. So what they've done somehow by means of evolution or whatever is prolong their life by never growing up. So they stay in their emo stage. No one really knows why they do that. Science doesn't know why they do that. Another interesting fact. Another cool thing about them is they carry a genetic trait where they will glow kind of blue, like a kaiju from Pacific Rim under certain light conditions. They are kind of like a little kaiju, I think. Now, where do they come from? Naturally, they only exist in a couple particular lakes in Mexico. So obviously, they are deeply ingrained into Mexican culture. They even put them on the peso. They're not on the Mexican flag, but arguably, I think that would look much cooler than an eagle. Now, they're called axolotls, and that comes from a Nahuatl word, but that's not actually how you pronounce axolotl, and it's not actually how you pronounce Nahuatl either. I've been trying to learn Nahuatl.
Nahuatl is the native language that the Mexica spoke before the Spaniards showed up, and they all eventually ended up speaking Spanish.
And so I figured out how to pronounce axolotl. It's a lot of fun to say axolotl, but it's actually pronounced axolotl. Axolotl. The TL in that language makes you sound like Sid and Sloth from my stage. You kind of push your tongue on the inside of your teeth and spit. And that's how you pronounce the TL in Nahuatl. The X in Nahuatl makes a sh sound, and you usually put the pronunciation on the second to last syllable. So you have axolotl. And that's how you pronounce that. So the Aztec, or Mexica as they're actually called, have a pantheon of gods. Coatzacoatl is one of the main ones, and he has a twin named Xolotl. He guides souls to the underworld, among other things. Well, he was about to be sacrificed. He didn't want to be sacrificed. So he bailed out, turned himself into corn, an agave plant, and an axolotl, or axolotl. So that's where you get the name axolotl from Xolotl. I guess that's about it for that. I remember it being a lot longer. The axolotl is eternal. Why? Because it's actually the god Xolotl. That's probably why it's so cute too. So now you know everything you could possibly need to know about an axolotl, including how to pronounce them. So now you can sound as stupid and nerdy as me explaining all this to someone else.